Hello and welcome to another wonderful episode of Two Drink Maximum. I am your co-host Chase.
I'm your other host Shane Byerly.
We are joined by a most enchanting guest. I'll do a little bit of foreshadowing there. Most enchanting. Today we are joined by Sam Sharman, artist, musician, and entrepreneur. Thank you so much for joining us today, Sam.
Hello, it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you in with us today. So, as we usually kind of start the show, what are we drinking tonight?
Mezcal.
Ooh.
On the rocks with some lime.
Yeah, it's very popular these days. Very popular mezcal. It's kind of coming up in popularity, but it's a good drink. I think the last couple episodes we've had a lot of mezcal, but I think it's just growing in popularity.
And this one's easy because it's just on the rocks.
It's just on the rocks.
We didn't have to do anything too crazy.
Yeah, lime squeezy.
Well, cheers, guys. Thank you
Cheers.
so much for coming. Yeah.
Thank you.
There we go.
Virtual quick. No,
There we go. So we are very lucky to catch you at a very exciting time because you just released.
Is cussing allowed?
Oh, totally.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
great.
Totally fine. Yeah.
This is for adults.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
You can use adult language.
So we're catching you at a pretty exciting time. You just had a record that got released.
Yes.
Really, really cool. Rose
Yes.
Riot.
Yes.
Awesome title.
Thank you.
Awesome cover.
Thank you.
Right? That's pretty eye-popping.
Yes, fuck
And it's
yeah.
filled with great songs. Like I've been listening to it for the last weekend. Like it's really
Yay.
great.
Thank you so much.
So I know that this record was not done super quickly, right? It's been kind of a long time coming. So how long has that process been from the moment you conceived of the record to now when it just came out?
Absolutely. And one very high-key clarification that I will make, I refer to this as a visual album instead of
Yes.
album or record because it is a visual story as well. Every song has a music video.
Forgive
And
us.
I'll get
We're
into
both
more of
old
that later.
fogies, so.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get into more of that later, but I just love saying that because I'm high-key. And I very specifically started this project spring equinox of last year
Okay.
and launched it spring equinox on this year. A year-long project because the album is actually broken up. Each chapter is a season.
Okay.
And so I wanted that to reflect in real time the year and the time and the energies that the album embodies.
Cool.
But in another way, it's been in my head for like 5 years. But
Sure,
you know what I
right.
mean.
But now it's down on vinyl, as it were. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. I think one of the things that struck me most about listening to the record, which I think in the world of digital releases these days is becoming a little bit lost, is it clearly seems like you just mentioned there was a lot of thought and intonation on the way that the record plays in full, right? Compared to just a string of hits that just kind of plays as the digital singles or whatever. There was a lot of,
Everybody
intent
chases
there.
the single. You've kind of gone after the masterwork here.
It's great. Like it doesn't
Totally,
you can listen to obviously any of the songs out of order, but when you listen to it in order, it really kind of takes you on a ride.
Yes.
And that was pretty cool. I'd love to hear a little bit more
thank you.
on you said like you were tracking the seasons, but
Yeah.
what was kind of the thought process behind the emotion of that roller coaster of the record?
Yeah, thank you for asking.
Yeah.
So one thing about this visual album is that it has so much media within what you get. And one of those things is a meditation book, which actually takes you into the metaphysical qualities of each season. And you see these energies reflected in the music. And so spring, for example, is all about sex and birth and rebirth and coming out after you've been in like your winter hibernation.
right? Yeah.
New. It's about connections. It's about like electricity and synchronicities and lots of vibey energy like that.
Yeah.
And so that's reflected in both the concepts of the songs as well as the actual sounds of the songs.
Sure.
So Spring has, like one of the sexiest bangers on the album. It's like talking very high key about sensuality. It's it's also talking about non-sexual connection. I have a song in that chapter called Neoplatonic that's all about like deep, passionate love for friends and specifically my women friends. But it's like an anthem for all friends to be like, I freaking love my friends. And so, it's about connection. So you see it in the sound, or rather you hear it in the sound and you see it reflected in the concepts.
Yeah. It's really cool. That's also kind of a lost. There's not a lot of cool, like, my friends are awesome songs.
No.
It's all love songs, right?
And like I personally, well, one, I'm poly, and two, I just like have a very expansive definition of relationships.
Yeah,
and
sure.
so some of my close friends, I very much consider them partners. I'm deeply inspired by them. I write love songs to them. I write love poetry to them.
Yeah.
I just want this world to be filled with so much more nuance that we allow ourselves to explore and express in love besides just a very basic formula for romantic love.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That can be a little limiting, I think. And so the fact that you're thinking outside of those lines, I think is pretty cool.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you.
The other thing I really respected about the record is that it's very well mixed. Like it's very well mixed and engineered, right? Like the sound of it is quite nice, which is, with a lot of artists on the come up, and even a lot of artists, frankly, that are working at the highest level today, they just don't put a lot of thought and process into the mixing of that. Did you have any control in the mixing process? Did you put a lot of like thought process into that as well?
You don't know how much you are seeing me right now. I will be considered by many people kind of like high key to work with, but it's because I'm precise as fuck. Like my Virgo rising is not gonna leave the house until it's like fucking on point.
Yeah.
And even still, I just found one like huge mastering error that I'm so frustrated about, but it is what it is, and it's out, and I'm letting it go.
It's part of the texture of the album.
Once it's out, you gotta kind of let it go.
You just gotta let it go.
Yeah.
But I was working with different people. I finally kind of like locked a team in for the last like half of the album, although it's non-linear. So, and they were, it was just, they're very good, and they were very receptive to a million edits. So that's the way that it went.
Those are good collaborators. The edits can wear you down a little bit. Can you tell us some of the people that are on the album with you? The VisuAlbum?
Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely. So firstly, I was just talking to my friend Segnon today. He was the producer for the track I Am Sam. And that is actually, in terms of the beat itself, that's one of my two favorite beats. It's so sick, and he just made it so for me. I told him I wanted like moody Drake, a little bit political, like very sexy. Like he just very heard me, and made it exactly what I wanted. Digging for Roots produced most of the music on the album, especially the very soulful tracks like In the Valley. He did all of those. Another one of my friends, Andrew Tress, did a couple of the songs like Neoplatonic and Breath Revolver. All of the poetry is set to meditation music that is pristine, the best of the best. One of my best friends in the world, The Frizz, who I'll talk about later for another reason, she produced all the tracks for the poetry, which that's another, when you were talking about the flow of the album, every season starts with a spoken word piece.
Right.
And that is something that I wanted to bring into the album, because I think that often poetry is just like separated way too much from the field of like music and the way that we like ingest this form of art. It's like, why have we separated them so much? I think it's so weird.
Yeah,
and I grew up in spoken word communities, so I just definitely wanted to bring an edge of that into the album.
For sure. And having those spoken word sections, it absolutely feels like a page turn, right? Or like a new chapter heading, kind of whatever, right? It definitely sets the kind of new page of like, okay, this is a new season, it's a new part of the record.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I was going to say those spoken word segments are some of my favorite ones.
Yes, thank you
Those
so
are some
much.
of my favorite ones that I
Thank
came
you.
across while listening to the album.
Thank you.
Could you elaborate a little bit more on how you created those segments and your intention behind them?
Yes.
And then what all is included in the VisuAlbum? Because you said there's a book of poetry going on as well, which certainly probably reads very well next to those tracks.
Absolutely. They're meant to be paired
So you
together.
do that, Beyonce. Where's your book of poetry with your new record? No.
Don't tempt her. Don't tempt her.
No, I'm
She'll do it tomorrow.
That's
no,
great.
I'm kidding.
So the spoken word pieces, okay, let me take it here for a second. The entire album, and I use this word differently than a lot of people use this word. Nonetheless, I use it very intentionally. The entire album is prayer. The entire album is magic. The entire album is sacred labor. The poetry in particular is like very channeled, intentional prayer. It's the heart, of my vulnerability, and it's magic. It's high key spells. I'm a witch. I'm high key spelling all the time. And it is like to drop us, especially under my backbone. Can I tell a little story about that?
Of course, absolutely.
Okay. So that is the introduction to the fall chapter. It's called Under My Backbone. The full title is Somewhere Over the Rainbow and Under My Backbone. And I wrote it in a response to the Maui fires. And when I wrote it, I was just channeling all of the healing energy that I could possibly muster through my entire body, throat chakra, hands, just like sending this love with the intention also that every time it's played, every time someone hears it, every time someone shares it, it just reinforces healing energy being sent to Maui and recovering from the fires. So all of my art period does that, but the poems in particular, and really that song in particular, is just like strong prayer, spell, magic work. Yeah. So that's the poetry. And then for what else is included in the visual album, so we have the music, the songs, the meditation and lyric booklet, which takes you, not only does it give you meditations for each season, but it also tells you really practical information about each season, including like the Chinese health attribution to, for example, maybe like the liver is very important this season. And so cleansing the liver using these kinds of diets this season is going to really set you up for a positive year. Working out this way during this season is going to be the most effective thing because your body needs this during this season. So it's got really practical things as well as more esoteric meditations. And then it has the lyrics for every single song broken up by the chapter. So that's one of my favorite labors of love. There's photo shoots for every single season.
Nice.
Let's go. Oh my gosh, they're so good.
Now, are they self-portraits that you like to take, or are they of other things other than just you?
So they are all portraits of me.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, it's cool.
It's a meta
You missed
album.
the epic hair flip for those listening at home.
Well, part of the album and part of my work in general is reflecting on the self as muse and the muse itself.
Yeah.
And so that's reflected in the album, obviously. Yeah, for sure. So there's photo shoots, and then there's behind the scenes footage. There is the cover art. And then also one thing that I haven't even told my fans yet, everyone who buys it, I very specifically did this as a Google Drive link. So when you get it, you immediately download the music and you get like a certificate and then you get like another thing, but then you get a link to download the full visual album where you get all these things. And the reason I did that is because I'm going to keep updating it. Let's go. And part of that is simply because I just didn't get everything that I wanted to done.
There's that perfectionist coming back out again. You're like, I'm going to fix that mastering error in that one track. And
Literally, I've
put it
already updated 2 things.
Nice.
But also because I want to do videos with all of the lyrics so that people can see the lyrics on the screen. And I just didn't, have time for everything. I'm an independent artist, right? And so, but also like, I want to do a collaboration with the Frizz again and do all the meditations that I do, but do them vocally guided, right?
Yeah.
So you get tracks. So I want to like add to the album as we continue going.
So you're cultivating live service music albums is what you're cultivating. What they do in video gaming.
It's kind of neat.
Yeah.
That's good. That's very creative.
Yes, please.
I think that most people, I would assume most people listening to this are familiar with the concept of a visual album, right? In the sense that I think, we brought it up earlier. Beyonce had a visual album, right, a couple years ago. So I think a lot of people are familiar with it. But just in case there are folks who aren't familiar with it, can you describe what a visual album is?
Yeah, I would say that it's taking the story to integrating the visuals into the arc of the story of the album and seeing them. For me, it's really one thing. Like, especially, I think the best example for this on the album is my track In the Valley. It's the most like heartful, soulful home, and I filmed the whole thing in my home of Sedona.
Nice.
Beautiful place.
Fuck yeah. And for me, it's like when I sing that song or when I even feel the vibrations of that song, I'm feeling the red dirt of Sedona.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling like myself going wild in nature naked by myself, like I'm feeling all of these things that I did in the video. And so like the visual album is really the story brought to life and visions. People speak different languages through their art. Some people are very visual. Some people really like music. Some people really like poetry. Some people really like something that's guided out and like a meditation book, where it's like, here, do this, then this, then this. Lots of people have different languages for how they receive and respond to and interact with art. And I figure the more multilingual we can become as artists, if it's our calling, and if it's not, that's fine, But for me, the more multilingual I can be, the more effective I am in having my message communicated.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's really cool. Because again, like, it sounds like you and I are very much the same in the sense that when I hear a great song, visuals start to kind of pop into my head. And how often have you seen something really cool, like in a movie or whatever, with like the perfect needle drop of a song? The two audio and visuals are just kind of tied together completely.
Totally.
When you were when you were creating this kind of record, what came first more for you? Was it more the visuals? Was it more the songs? Or was it kind of a natural blend of the two?
For me, everything starts with lyrics. I am at my heart of heart, I am a poet. I've been writing poetry. I mean, I've been singing that poetry, but I've been writing poetry for as long as I can remember. Literally as long as I can remember. So it is my first modality. And then everything shapes itself around there. Even the music, I didn't write to any music that was already done. I wrote the song and then I handed it to a producer and said, this is what I want.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So then the visuals would usually come after the music then, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they could be spinning in my head together as I'm having the ideas.
Yeah,
like they're
absolutely.
like in the valley.
Right? It's still kind of a natural blend of the two, right?
Yeah.
That's
was,
really cool.
Was there ever a moment where one informed the other or the other way around? Like were you working on a piece and then you made some visuals and it changed how you presented the piece?
That's a really good question. I would say the most that happened to was Neoplatonic, where I shot a music video live at a show I was performing at, and I had a bunch of my girlfriends come to the back of the thing where I was performing and let me film them dancing to my song. And then they filmed me while I was on stage, and I cut those together, and it just became like, the song is about these very people that I'm filming, right? And so then I just got to see like the lyrics interacting with them, and they were almost direct. And then when I was editing it, I was like, I talk about this, so like, let me hit you with that fierce venom in my skin tight denim. And I was like, oh, my friend's butt was shaking in that denim. Like that's going in the video right there, you know, like, so it was really fun to interact with that.
Serendipity of it all.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah. I mean, like the juggling of all those pieces to kind of make one cohesive unit must feel a little bit daunting, but it seems like you seem to have pulled it off with grace and aplomb. That's pretty cool.
Oh my God, thank you for saying that.
No, it's a really, really fun record. I'm glad you brought up In the Valley, by the way. That's my favorite track on the record, I think.
That and Under My Backbone are my favorite tracks.
Yeah. I also like Goddess of Love and War because I think it's the ones, well, I mean, it's one of the songs, but it's one that where your vocals really get to kind of really get a workout. You can really get to shine through.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, it's a really cool. It's like from start, like I've listened to it multiple times and throughout the weekend, like when I was in like different mental spaces, it like pulled me out of it and kind of put me on a different, you know what I mean? It kind of, it's a vibe. Like the record has a vibe to it. And so regardless of what I was going through, it kind of put me on a different path. That's pretty neat, right? That you were able to accomplish something that was able to kind of do that, right? To kind of transcend that. So it's pretty neat.
Thank you.
I think you should feel proud.
Yeah, I do. I appreciate that. Thanks. Fuck yeah.
My favorite track was Winter. Thought it was really good.
Nice. That's one of my best friends in the world. Speaking of people that the album features, that is featuring Dr. Galia. She is one of my best friends, sisters, first person I met in LA. We're such soul homies, and she is my favorite spoken word poet. Okay, tied for two favorites, but she's tied up there. And that track, she just slays. And that's also one of my favorite videos. If you have seen the video, it's crazy. I don't think I've seen the video.
I'll have to seek that out.
Amazing.
I'll have to find it.
Yep.
So the record just came out, obviously, right? And you just did a release.
Yes.
A big release thing.
On Saturday.
What was that like? What's it like releasing your own record during a big party for it?
It's amazing. Yes, this is my first. I've released some singles before, but this is my first album. So this is my first album release party.
Yeah.
And it was insane. Yeah. I was so happy. Oh my God. So I'll just tiptoe also into Enchanted Loft because it's an Enchanted Loft production. I am the CEO of artist management of Enchanted Loft Productions. We do micro festivals. And so obviously we made, this event about my album release.
Sure.
And it was...
You get to do that when you're CEO.
Exactly. There
are benefits to being CEO, and that's one of them. Yeah.
Well, Tori and I, the co-founder and I, the Frizz, excuse me, she is the founder. I am the CEO of artist management. But she and I both very strongly, intentionally created a container also for our creativity. She's a resident DJ. I perform at, once every 3 or so. And we really like to enforce the message that we are here to cultivate creativity within our community and to really see and shine. And so we have open mics as a part of our event where we get to see and honor and witness, members of our community. And we book amazing performance artists where they get to be seen, right? So and there's a lot of collaborative activities, cultivating creativity is truly our passion there. So being seen is part of that. So definitely.
Absolutely.
I want to back up to open mic because open mic can mean a couple of different things. Is it songs? Is it poetry? Is it stand-up comedy?
I believe it's
what
anything.
Is allowed on the open mic?
Thank you so much for asking. We have a very unique open mic setup. So first of all, our afternoons are usually conscious connection activities, and they're really fun and unique. We had a breath and beats one where we did sensual breath work to music from a DJ, cool shit. And then we have our open mic at sundown, and we make it very specifically. You have the mic for up to 5 minutes, and you can do whatever the fuck you want. Meaning you can share anything that it is that your soul shares. So a lot of people, for example, in our community might not be a poet, but maybe they lead meditation. So maybe they want to lead us in a 5-minute meditation, or we've had someone do Qigong. But yes, of course, we have a lot of music. We had someone come through in December that blew my fucking mind. I was like, I can't believe you paid to be here and give us your music. music. So we have amazing music poets, the typical stuff as well, but it's like you can share anything that you want to share with your community for 5 minutes on the mic.
Nice. That's awesome. It sounds like it's kind of
So
a cool trip in the sense it was like, buckle up. You don't
Yep.
know what's coming,
Yep.
but it's going to be something cool. Hopefully it's going to be something cool.
And a trip psychedelically if you do that.
There you go. If that's
We
your
do
bag
no
as well.
alcohol,
If
but
that's your deal.
we love for people to explore their consciousness at our events.
There you go. Very cool. Well, we do alcohol on this show, so it's a little bit of both there.
Yes, exactly.
Sadly, no conscious altering materials.
That's a different
I think our interviews
podcast.
would lose focus very quickly. Yeah.
I would love that show.
It's a special edition.
Would absolutely listen to that show
Yeah.
forever and ever. Is there anything that didn't make it on the album just because it didn't match thematically, or you just loved it and just didn't work? Or
actually, yes. I wanted to really keep it
B-sides.
to like 2 songs and a poem per each chapter. One of them does also have an interlude, which is a voice note from my best friend with some beautiful like pianos and stuff in the background. I fucking love it. But otherwise, it was 2 songs and a poem. And so I had some really yummy like soul pop music that didn't make the cut that I will definitely be releasing as a single in the late summer. I don't want to do it too soon. But I mean, I am someone who just started recording music like a year and a half ago, no, like 2 years ago. But I have probably like, I don't know, 55 fucking written songs, So it's just like, I've had a few singles, now the album, and like, I'm ready to like start cutting through my material. It seems really daunting and hard at first, but then once you have the album done, you're like, I know how to do this.
Yeah, exactly. That's fairly common though. I feel like for a lot of artists, like you read a lot of interviews with artists or whatever, and it feels like of the 10, 15 tracks that actually make the record, there's like 40, that are just sitting there.
Totally.
It's like they're on a hard drive somewhere. It's like
Yep.
maybe they'll find a venue some way, somehow,
Yeah.
someday. But for now, they're just the B-sides to the record, and that's kind of it. So it sounds like you're on par with,
Yeah.
but with almost everybody else who's
Love
performing
it.
in this space where it's like, yeah, I've got some B-sides and maybe they'll come out one day.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
Got your live update
They're
tracks
going to be
ready.
just their own EP. I mean, I'm not ditching them. It's not that they weren't good songs. It's just that they weren't fitting the vibe. So I just like narrowed it down that way. But I love that shit. So I'll definitely be releasing it.
Every now and again, a band will put out like a whole collection of B-sides like that, and some of those B-sides
cool.
are incredible. The one that comes to mind is there's a band I know that you like as well, Cake.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And
heck yeah.
they have a record of just B-sides and rarities and stuff.
Oh,
and
that's
they're like,
cool.
this is amazing. Like, where did
Yeah,
all these
fuck
come
yeah.
from?
I-
They all should have made the record. These are great.
I just remember forever ago, I think it was Red Hot Chili Peppers. They hadn't released anything in a very, very long time. And then suddenly I looked up and they'd released like a 4-disc album with
Let's
like 40
go.
different songs on there. That had Californication, I think,
All
was
right,
one of
all
the
right.
songs on there.
Calm it down, Flea. We don't need 40 songs per record. Pick the best 15.
It's like
Let's
they
go.
spent all their time just recording this music.
Come
and
on
came
now.
out of nowhere.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
In between Flea's acting
Someone
gigs.
might want them, and that's great.
I know. Well, I mean, if
We're in
you've
LA.
seen-
Don't talk trash about LA.
No, not at all, not at all. But it
some
does
Chili
seem
Peppers
that
fans
there is
knocking
like
on our
a
door.
new trend now where it's like, because I just noticed this recently where like it's the 35th or 40th anniversary of Nirvana's Nevermind, and they've re-released that record again. And now it's like a 7-disc set with like
Whoa.
all the demos and like all the premix versions. You're just
Wow.
like, look, I get it.
I
but
don't
at a
know if I
certain
can be
point,
sad that long.
7 discs. I'm just like, give me like 2. Can I just get the demo version and the final? That's all I really need.
That's a
Like, I
real
don't need
investment
yeah.
in melancholic
So there
feeling.
can be
Yes.
too much. I think there can be too much
For
content.
sure. But at the same time, I mean, to who? Like, if someone else likes it, then fucking whatever. Like,
Yeah.
get your money, get your music.
exactly, get your music. Yeah. And by the way, since I kind of glossed over earlier, but I didn't want like Rose Riot. It's a
Yes.
provocative. It's a cool title.
Yes,
like, what does
thank
it
you
mean
so
to
much.
you? Why did you come up with that title?
Thank you for asking that question. Okay, so I knew it was going to have Rose in it. Well, ultimately, the short answer is it came from a poem. And actually, there is one actual B-side track that's an acoustic version of one of the R&B songs called Words Spoken. And in the original, I do a spoken word piece, but the poem is really long and I only did half of it. And in the acoustic version, I finished the poem and I have the line that's actually referenced by the album, which is inside roses still riot in your absence. Which was about an ex. And
I could have guessed.
You
It
could have
sounds a little,
guessed,
yeah.
yeah.
As long as it's not Dave Coulier.
We all have an ex Dave Coulier.
oh, Dave. No. And so one, it came from that poem, but also I am someone who practices rose magic, which is a particular lineage of high vibe magic, from Mary Magdalene era. And it's The rose, the medicine or the lesson of the rose is you get the petals with the thorns.
Sure.
Okay. It's also rose is the queen of flowers. It's the most luxurious. It's the most beautiful. It's the most sensual. It's the most yada yada. It has a lot of different kinds of magical codes inside of it. And I work with that magic. And then Riot just to me was so like I feel, even though I'm probably the least political person you know, most people think that's probably because I'm not into what's happening, right? Or like I'm not paying attention. It's actually just that I'm too fucking radical for your shit. And so I riot in different ways. Like I'm causing a fucking riot in this album, if you can't tell, like a sensual revolution fucking riot.
Yeah.
So it's like riots can also be this thing that's not like out on the street yelling for this or that. A riot could be having like the most intimate solo orgasm you've ever had and then sending that magic to recreate pleasure through your entire life. Right? That's a fucking riot for this world. That's a revolution. And so that's the title.
I dig it.
amazing.
Because, the concept that riots can be internal as well as external, that's unique. I haven't
quiet
thought
riot?
of it that way. A quiet riot? Yeah. That's
Quiet. No, it's loud as fuck. Yeah.
No, I dig it, though. That's really cool. I think it's a great record.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
Now, one of the things that we wanted to talk about as well is your release strategy for this record is unique. It's new.
Thank you.
And it's again, I might be stumbling through some of the words here, but is it being released as an NFT?
So what I decided to do very late in the game, like literally I've been planning on dropping it on this platform Soundrig as an NFT for 10 out of the 12 months. And right 2 months before I released the album, I woke up from a dream and I was like, don't release it as an NFT. And it's not because I'm not a long-term advocate for the space. I have 1.5 feet planted in the space. Like I am in the fucking space.
Yeah.
It's because I knew that I know what my goals are.
Sure.
And I know the path of least resistance to get my goals. And it felt like I was having to put in a lot of extra work to get a niche audience instead of what I'm actually trying to do right now is blow the fuck up. I want everyone to know my shit. And there's just still some user experience barriers to NFTs that I wasn't willing to risk on my album just because I wanted to do something first in that space or like just because I really like align with it theoretically and philosophically. And to be clear, like I'm sure it would have had its own level of success. I would have sold some. I've sold NFTs before. Like I am in the space, but I want my mom to be able to go online and get my album.
Right.
Yeah.
And you want your
Period.
mom's friends to be able to go on and find the album.
Yeah,
right? So,
exactly. But I am doing a summer drop as an NFT. So what I did is initially the visual album was going to include, I'm also a visual artist. I do these super sexy psychedelic animations that start with photography and then go into these surrealistic, cosmic, yummy
very
worlds.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And so the visual album initially included that within the content. And so what we're doing is we're taking that out and we're going to release those as NFTs in the summer.
Nice.
And those will have, it'll be like, I'll do like a 30-second loop of one of the art pieces to a song. So you'll get like a 3.5, minute art piece of a 30-second loop to the song Neoplatonic or whatever it's going to be.
Sure.
And that I will do on Soundrig, which is the platform I had been planning to drop on.
Nice.
Super cool.
What is the so I said you kind of changed your mind at the last minute, but what were the benefits of releasing as an NFT versus some of the hindrances of releasing your record or your album, I should say, in a more traditional sense?
Absolutely. So some of the practical benefits, especially being we are in the world of digital art.
Yes,
there's
we are.
no fighting it, and I love it personally. But whatever, how you feel about it, whether you like it or not, we're here. And so we need to be judicious about how we're taking care of those digital assets. And to me, the Web3 community is the only community investigating how to take care of digital art. And I mean, I could go on about just this forever. How long have artists and musicians been so fucking royally fucked over by industry, music industry, art industry, gallery industry, like whatever it is? Like artists have just been so consistently royally fucked over. And the Web3 space, and I'm not saying it's perfect by no fucking means, but I am saying that there is more of an attention and an intelligence and a commitment to ownership and overall fucking respect for artists and musicians. Musicians now, that wasn't initially in the space, but musicians now as an artist in the space. And it also reframes because there is going to be, and there is a need for things that are the equivalent of music and art labels. And so those things are emerging in the space. But like SoundRig, the place that I'm working with, it's like, who should get the fucking lion's share of the money? The fucking artist. Period. End of
Seems
story.
to make sense.
Done. And so it's like SoundRig is like 80-20, right? The artist with the lion's share. And so for me, it's like, yes, I need some extra assistance. And yes, I would love your tech team, because even though I am a digital artist and I'm so conceptually committed to the tech world, I did not come from a tech background. So yes, I will use your tech team, just like different aspects of support, but I'm the owner of my art and I will receive the most money that is sold from my art. And that's a non-negotiable for me. So the Web3 space is the only space doing something about that actively that I see.
Yeah. The internet has quickly become the final frontier, right? Of the distribution of art, of information. So you had mentioned Web3. I know what Web3 is. He knows what Web3 is. But pretend for a second that we don't and that we're done.
Yes.
We do. We know. We're very smart. But pretend that for a second we don't know what that is.
I think I know.
Absolutely.
That's as close as I've gotten to a definition. Is
also,
I'm
if anyone is actually interested, I do have a free Web3 class on my Linktree. It's on my YouTube channel. It's like a 30-minute introduction to Web3.
Nice. Okay.
So I would define Web3 as the new internet and the technologies thereof.
Sure.
Is the way that I would simply define it. Now I'll expand that a little bit. The new internet being things like blockchain technology, things like VR, things like the metaverse, things like NFTs. All of these things are Web3 technologies. And again, it's kind of, I referenced this earlier. It's like whether you like it or not, the internet is fundamentally changing. Yeah. And it's like so Web 1 was like the era of the very first dial-up internet, okay? Like
AOL.
And in order to have a website, you had to learn how to code, right? Yeah. You couldn't just hop on like Wix or whatever and make a website. So like that was the first era of the internet. The second era of the internet is like kind of what we're in / what we're leaving, which was like e-commerce and social media, and you can build your own website. Like, yay, so much more distribution of power.
Interactivity.
And also some like monopolies of power.
Sure.
Web3 would then be characterized by even more distribution and decentralization of that power, which is to really say, when I say power, I mean like who is sending the information and where is it being stored? So it's more decentralized, and so it I don't know how technically you want me to get, but I can just leave it there for now. And then, all the technologies like NFT, VR, AR, all that stuff are technologies of Web3.
Is AI playing a huge part?
Oh, excuse me. I didn't even say like the most relevant technology.
The giant
AI.
dark shadow looming over all industries.
100%.
So it's playing
AI
a
is a
larger part in
Web3
that.
technology for
perfect.
fucking sure. Yeah.
That's, and it seems like
it
that's
will be
where
a
we're
technology that creates more Web3 technology.
Yeah.
It will create Web 4.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that.
But what it won't create is more
refills.
drink in our glass.
That's right.
Because it appears we've come to the bottom of our first drink.
We're going to need to take a break.
I love it.
We'll be right back here in just a moment.
Bye.
Chase, I don't know about you, but it does feel like ever since COVID hit, we spend so much time in our homes, and our homes have kind of become our office, and it's been this kind of weird blend of professional and home. I find that occasionally it is difficult to become creative in the house. Sometimes you got to get out and you got to find a different space to kind of let that creativity fly. And we are excited to share with our listeners that if you are in the LA area, we have the solution for you. We are proudly sponsored by The Muse Rooms, which is a creative co-working space that is here. They have a Hollywood location and they have a Burbank convenient location, 2 convenient locations for you, that is ready to serve all of your creative space needs. If you want to rent space for a day to work on that screenplay, or if you need to rent a conference room for a big meeting that you have with a team that doesn't meet regularly, the Muse Rooms has got you covered. It's a great space. It's a great owner. It's a great vibe too. It's just a really cool, you'll get points with the youngsters.
Oh, yeah.
For being cool for renting out.
It's the hip spot to be, indeed.
It definitely is. So give the Muse Rooms a check if you for all of your creative co-working space needs at themuse, MUSE rooms.com. And now let's move on to part 2 of the show. We are back with Sam Sharman, and who just released her newest record, Rose Riot, earlier a couple weeks ago in the middle of March, right?
VisuAlbum.
Yeah,
VisuAlbum.
And we've got a new glass of Mezcal in front of us. No, so as I was reading in a Vice News story a couple weeks ago, Mezcal is at a weird turning point in the industry where Mezcal is a spirit that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to grow, right? The agave plant takes years to grow, and a lot of Mezcal is still made in a very old, traditional kind of way. And so the point of this story that I was watching was Mezcal is a spirit that is the demand for it is quickly outpacing how quickly they can make it. And so if you don't want Mezcal to become tequilaized, right, where it's just they're just growing stuff, they're tearing up the environment, they're ruining all these mountainsides just to grow it. The point is, right now, the thing you can do as a consumer is buy the good mezcal, right? Don't buy the cheap $20 mezcals, right? Show mezcal growers and makers that you want the good quality stuff and that you're willing to pay for it. So that was also, frankly, this bottle of mezcal that we were drinking was entry level, but this will be the last bottle of entry level mezcal.
It's going to go up
that
from
we
here.
purchased. It'll go up from here. But
Can I recommend something?
Yeah, absolutely. Please.
Madre.
Madre?
Yeah,
good
it's my
mezcal?
favorite.
Okay. Is it your favorite? Interesting. Where is it? Is it easily findable?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do
It's
you
got
know?
the most beautiful label. Actually, I don't know anything about it. I just know it's like
just know you like it.
higher
You
to
just know you like it.
mid-range, and I fucking love it. And mezcal is pretty much the only drink I drink, and I don't drink a lot, but like I love mezcal. So I will try mezcal everywhere I go. And consistently, for just like buying at home, Madre is my favorite.
Nice. I will be on the lookout for that the next time I go to my local liquor store. Yeah, absolutely.
And then I was going to spin off of Shane's story there, the idea of dedicating yourself to quality to ensure quality continues is something I think that you bring to your art and music and stylings and beliefs. In a world where like spirituality and shamanism and all those things are sort of becoming in vogue, at least with social media and all that stuff, how do you ensure the quality of your dedication to what you believe in and what you sing and what you create in a world that's trying to constantly water that down and spread it out and turn it into something it potentially isn't for like a monetary factor?
I practically never concern myself with that. I am only doing what I do.
Okay.
And I know the quality and integrity of what I do, and that's the only thing I can do. Sometimes I do get upset and frustrated and sad. For example, I am an energy worker, and sometimes I have my clients describe to me previous experiences that they've had with quote unquote energy workers, right? And it's so frustrating to see people claiming to be, masters or whatever, and then actually causing harm to people. Right? Like, it's fucking upsetting.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can do is just stay committed to what I do. And I mean, it is true, right, that we are just the example of what we live. And so I just recently had someone who didn't even know me or know that I do energy work or anything and just saw my Instagram and was like, you seem to really understand self-expression and not be scared to express yourself. Like, do you meet with people? And I was like, oh, yes, I do energy work. And he was like, right. So like, I just continue to be the example or to be what I am as in my integrity is one of my. So I have these things, what I call core vibrations. And every morning when I wake up and meditate, I meditate on my core vibrations. And for me, integrity is one of my core vibrations. If I act out of integrity, my soul hurts and I must put it back in alignment. And I wish we all did this because this world would be flowing in integrity. So this is for me all I can do. And then just hold space for people when they experience the result of lack of integrity.
Just meeting you for the very first time, it seems very obvious that you march to a very specific drum that is kind of, like you have a very guided path, it seems. When did you kind of determine for yourself that that was the path that you wanted to walk? Because it seems from a very pure place that you come from, right? But
Always
when did
such a
you make
driven
that
soul.
decision?
In a way, I always knew I was an artist, and specifically a musician and a poet and a visual artist. Like I've just known that forever at my most core level. When I was in my 20s and I was going to college, I had some doubts about, because of course we just ingest so much bullshit about like, you're going to be a starving artist. Artists never make it. Why would you do that? Yada, yada, yada. And so I explored other avenues. But even while I was doing that, I never stopped doing art. And then at a certain point, I realized that I would be miserable if I continued doing what I was doing and didn't give it my all to be my artist. And even though I have had so much fucking struggle, it could not be overstated. Like never did I doubt that I would just like, it was going to happen or that I would quote unquote make it, which is to say like support yourself financially through your art. That's really what we mean when we say make it, right?
Right, of course.
That's the first level.
Yeah, exactly. But at the very least that, right? Like there has just never been any doubt. And I think that's probably a key is just knowing that like no matter what, like I think that's one of the strongest ingredients is just knowing you're going to make it, like having so much faith in yourself.
Just an unshakable sense of
like if I don't give up, it will happen. Like I really do feel like that's what sets me apart from any artist that quote unquote doesn't make it. It's like, I won't give up. Like even if it takes me another 6 years to establish whatever, like it doesn't fucking matter. Like I will not give up.
Yeah.
So I think it takes a lot of faith in yourself and a lot of I will not fucking give up.
Yeah, for sure. The screenwriter Paul Haggis, who wrote Crash amongst other movies, that was his advice too. Is he was like, I gave myself no plan B. I moved to Hollywood to become a screenwriter, and he was like, I was either going to eventually become a screenwriter or I was going to die alone in my car. It was one of the two of those. Trying to become a screenwriter.
Exactly.
So eventually it came through, and then he won an Oscar. So good for him.
Yes, we love it for him.
That's really cool that you kind of knew. It seems like from a very early age that you were going to walk a kind of a different path, or a more unique path, right?
Yeah, I didn't even know it was unique or not. All I know is that I'm here to make art. It's just a soul code. It's just a hunger that cannot be satisfied anywhere else. It's a necessity. I remember one time, it was like a little after I moved to Sedona, and I just like was at my lowest low, and I was like, what would happen if I just gave up? Like today, I just give up. I've give up. And I think I made it 12 hours. And I was like, what do I do? Wait, I'm sorry. What do I do now with my life? And I was like, oh, the only thing I do is make art. So whether I quote unquote make it or not, I'm making art. So you may as well try to, like, I may as well try to fucking make $1 out of what I'm fucking doing.
Yeah, you might as well, right? Put a little,
because I can't do anything else.
As a creative human, eventually you learn that is the only thing you can do is continue to create whatever it is that you're making or doing. So you might as well lean into it because it's what your body and mind are going to fight to do it all the time.
Exactly. You're going to be fighting yourself if you're not doing it, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So, excuse me for a second. I think one of the things that is very unique to you is that it seems like a lot of the different styles of art that you are a practitioner of, they all come from this very singular kind of message that is kind of coming from within inside of you, right? Mm-hmm. When you are feeling that message particularly strongly, do you find yourself going into modes of, I'm in music mode this week? Or is it kind of like all at once type? You know what I mean? Like I'm saying, do you do music for like a week and then it's like, okay, let me set that down. And now I'm going to do photography. This is what I'm feeling this weekend or kind of whatever. Do you go through modes?
Yes. And one, it's pretty fluid. Sure. And two, it's directed by the muse. And so I was actually just talking about this, that one of the things that I did in quitting my job and just like being like, I don't know how I'm going to fucking do this, but I'm going to fucking do it and hustle on the side till whatever, is because art happens through inspiration, and inspiration happens through spaciousness, to listen to the muse when she drops in. So sometimes I am very much like in visual mode, and like my favorite thing in the world to do is just like smoke a J and like make my visual art, and I'll be doing that for like you said, like a full week, like no one fuck with me. I'm just like doing this thing right now. It's also very seasonal. Speaking of the seasons, the rotations, like some seasons, especially fall, I wake up every morning and again, smoke a little J and then get right to writing. And I write poetry for like a half an hour every single morning, almost always through fall. So it is very, like led by inspiration, and I go through flows. Sometimes it's more mixed, but it's usually more mixed by necessity, i.e. I have to finish my album, and so I have to combine this, and this right now. And I, thank goodness, have the skill set to be able to combine those things, you know, because it's actually quite demanding to switch from one language to another.
And if you're jumping between modes so quickly, and so regularly, depending on what you're doing. What do you do when you find yourself blocked in one area or another? Because I know just in the writing world, that's a pretty big challenge. But if you have a block that infiltrates everything else that you're doing, given that the interconnectivity of everything that you do, how do you fight through those things? What are your strategies for solving blocks for yourself?
I don't believe in blocks.
Okay.
I believe in redirections.
That's an easy way.
That's a very easy way. So if I feel like I can't write, then I'm not writing. I'm doing something else. If I feel like I can't X, Y, Z, and even if it's a micro thing, like for example, there are times, right, where it's like, okay, but it has to be done by this date, Sam. So blah, blah, blah. Like you got to get it done. But even in that micro moment, right at this moment, I'm having anxiety about it. So that's not time for me to make that, because then that's going to come from a place from anxiety. So for the next 15 minutes, let me do this other thing and then check in with myself. And if I'm still feeling like I am 1000% committed to honoring my intuition, and I believe in her no matter what, even if my brain can't see it. So sometimes, even if I have a deadline and my body told me no every time I checked in with a task, I'm not doing it. And 100 out of 100 times, it ends up being like, oh, it turns out you didn't need to do that. Or it turns out this happened, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, peace, bitch.
Yeah.
It works.
It worked out that way. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the idea of kind of letting the source, right, or kind of that muse, whatever you want to call it, kind of dictate the direction you go. It's pretty interesting. Rick Rubin talks about that a lot in his book as well, where it's like the idea of just kind of tapping into that and just letting the idea flow through you.
Yes.
And if it's not happening at the moment, just pivot to something else, right?
Yes.
That's the
Pivot,
productive way to do it. Instead of saying, I'm blocked, I'm going to, I'm just going to take a day off.
If you say you're blocked, you're reinforcing the idea that you're blocked. Whereas I truly do believe that it's not a block. I truly do believe that your energy is spent where it wants to go. So if you follow the inspiration and you follow your joy and you follow your highest desire, you're going to be the most productive. Even if you think that, for example, the other day I still struggle because I was like, my body wants to do yoga, but I should be doing this, this, and this. But when I did that, then I had a half an hour of clarity and then I dove into my work, right? So it's like, it doesn't matter if your brain gets stuck on something, like follow your fucking joy and it will work itself out, is what I live by.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. On that note, who are some of your early artistic inspirations to where you derive this worldview of art and creativity and no such thing as a block?
Oh my goddess. Okay, I will tell you my favorite living artist is Kendrick Lamar.
Okay.
I feel like it is,
King Kunta?
this is my like Scorpio moon being like, don't fuck with me. But my Scorpio moon is like, no, he's one of the greatest living artists, period.
He's incredible.
He's up there. He's up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so both for, and actually let me speak to why. Obviously his fucking talent, that's not a question, right? But I had one of my most personal, intimate, vulnerable moments as a listener, hearing him talk about his life experiences and getting to understand things that I never would have come across my field so effectively and so beautifully. And so for me, actually, the word effective is the most important word when we're talking about art. If it's effective, it's successful, period. And it's so effective, let alone highly creative, highly talented, yada, yada. So Kendrick Lamar is one of my favorite artists. My other also all-time favorite artist of all time, period, is Michael Jackson.
Okay.
And
We've heard of him.
King of Pop. Yeah.
Yep, that's the one. That's the one, you know. And then it's like a Prince is another, but then like a rotating series of just like whoever is inspiring me in the moment. Sampa the Great is someone who I'm obsessed with, like at this very moment, as well as more generally, Leonard Cohen, Lana Del Rey. And then I truly mean this. I really do believe that we are all artists and living artfully. And I am deeply inspired by witnessing people live their lives. When someone strikes me with like an extraordinary moment of kindness or sexuality, or just like when someone does something that speaks to my soul, they are a muse for me. My partner, I'm a very romantic person. My partners are muses for me. And again, I use this word and I recognize we all have different associations with this word, but I'm going to use it through all the bullshit. Essence, God, source, pure, raw life force, energy is infinite inspiration. And so it's literally only a matter of like, oh, hey, I'm talking to this bee right now and this bee is inspiring me.
I have definitely found that as I've gotten a little bit older, right? Especially I think when you hit your 30s, you realize that you just don't have all the answers to everything.
No.
Right. And especially like
every day I learn what I don't know.
Yeah, I learn more and more of what I don't know.
Of my
right.
life.
And so when we get a chance to talk to somebody like you who is so confident and so kind of, you seem very in tune with what makes you click as a person. It's always so great to kind of have you dispel a little bit of that, because it's like, it's so cool to like have you dispel like what works for you, you know, because it might not work for everybody else.
Totally.
But at the same time, it seems to definitely work for you. And that's really, it's a treat
yeah.
to kind of meet someone of that caliber of like, she knows what she's doing.
Thank
you know what I
you.
mean? She's got that figured out for herself, at least.
Thank you. Thank you. I
know?
appreciate that. And that's all we can do. I mean, I love that Frida Kahlo quote. I'm not going to get it exactly, but it's like, I paint myself because I know I'm myself. You know, like I paint what I know. I do the art what I know, you know, like I'm just studying myself.
Yeah.
And that's all we're all really doing. It's just like a privilege to do as an artist, because then you get to be like, this is what I'm learning.
Yeah. Well, and especially with the self-portraits that you do, it's funny that you bring up Frida Kahlo as well, because the thing about self-portraits, I think that when I think of them for me is like, we are all our own worst enemy, right? I hate looking at pictures of myself because I'm the worst of like, oh, you look fat here and this, that, whatever. But so how do you work through that where it's like, how do you take yourself out of the equation of, I took a picture of myself and then turn it into a piece of art where maybe you divorce yourself from like the subject and the creator are no longer the same thing. But how do you do it?
That's such a good question. I found, well, one, a lot of fucking practice. I've been taking self-portraits since I was a little kid.
Sure.
And for some reason, it was always just like, I want to learn to be a photographer. I like being in front of the camera, so let me practice. So there's always been this element of practice. And then it's clicked in one day when I was like 27, where I literally heard, whatever term you want to use, my future self, my higher self. I heard a version of me
voice
on the
of the
other
cosmos.
side of the camera. And I'd heard this voice before, but I was finally able to decode it. And it went from like criticism of like, move your arm like that, try doing this. Da, da, da. It went from criticism to like, oh no, this is just like me making art with myself. And it's like my higher self guiding me to like, try this. Why don't you try this? This would look quite beautiful. This would look interesting. And then taking the pressure off to being like a conversation about art and like how like experimentation. And I think that artists thrive in experimentation. That's one of the most important ingredients in being an artist. And so meeting this element of like, we're not criticizing the body, we're not judging your face, we're seeing what we can do. And then also, this is the other kicker for me, right? I'm making art and art has intention. So what can I do both behind and in front of the camera, literally and metaphorically, to bring that intention through? So if raising my arm and doing this brings the intention through more, or like whatever it is. So like I'm willing to receive messages from from myself on the other side of the lens as to how to bring that message forth more effectively.
Is that so? You're taking a picture of yourself and then running back behind the camera, going, "Nope, I did."
Literally,
and then doing it
you
again.
joke, but literally.
I can imagine that would be at least a tedious might be one word, but a good workout would be the other way to describe it. Just running back. And
especially
forth
before I got my little clicker thing. And sometimes I'm such a Pisces, I forget it 8 out of 10 times. I'm going to photograph myself anyway. And literally, the journey of pressing my 10-second timer and clicking it, and then going and running and getting in position is half the fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like setting a little time bomb for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to do this 20 times.
Yeah. Please get it right on take 3. I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah.
No, honestly, I have a ball with it. It's like one of my favorite things to do is taking self-portraits, and it's just like setting up a whole ceremony. It's ceremony.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Like, it can just be making art is fucking fun. Like, have fun with yourself. And who didn't, or I don't know, maybe as like people who generally present like, or are received as masculine in the world, maybe you didn't do this as a kid, but definitely a lot of femme presenting people in the world, like, you know, like did dress up and like did their makeup or like played with it or like, you know, it's just fun. It's play. It's pleasure.
When you have shows though with your art specifically, because a lot of it is they are self-portraits, you seem very comfortable in your own skin, you seem very comfortable in your own body. When you have these shows, if you talk to critics or just or art enthusiasts who are there, is it kind of a weird dissociative thing to hear people talking about what essentially is you, but again, it's that separation of art and subject. Like, have you gotten used to people talking about the subject of you differently than the artist version of you? You know what I mean?
I think I'm going to go through waves of that.
Sure.
Yeah. Did you have a follow-up to that?
I wanted to give a little bit of context just on Shane's question, because if you haven't seen the VisuAlbum or any of your stuff, you were very comfortable, yes, with sexuality and your body and displaying your form for the world. So that just a...
I will say, I don't even think about like nudity because I'm so immersed in the world of just like myself and others included are just like naked all the time that I don't even think about it. Yeah. That's different, a little bit different than your question of like, regardless, how is it received? And that's an interesting question. I really do feel like my answer is going to morph with time with that. Generally speaking, I haven't had any like issues with it until literally just the other night at my release party. It was, first of all, so fucking successful. We more than doubled our sales for any past event that we've ever had.
Nice.
Let's go. And with that, there were a lot of people there. And there were a lot of people that don't know me, don't know my art, don't know, like, Enchanted Loft is a community, right? Like, so even the people we don't know, like, I can trust that they're in our community. And there were so many people there the other night. And it was the first time that I felt so many people's unintegrated sexuality repress and not know what to do with their desire. And energetically, I just had to be there in that room with a lot of people who didn't know what to do with themselves. And it was a great learning opportunity for me to become even more of an energy master, and to just continue to see people going through their own healing process and to love them through it, and also to hold strong as fuck boundaries. And so, my art is so fucking beautiful, and it's my naked body. So it is a very interesting space for me, and I'm really just beginning to navigate it, which is the answer to your question.
Yeah. So it'll change over time. You think?
It's a big question.
Yeah.
There's nothing more heated on either side than the female sexuality for some reason. I don't understand why everybody's so fixated on it.
I mean, I do, because magic.
Yes. It is absolutely magic, but you get some very strong opinions for or against for some reason.
Yeah, I just especially like when you are the subject of your own art, right? And it's your, whether it's with the nudity or not, it's like you are the subject of your own art. There's got to be this weird disconnect that you as the artist have to make, where it's like, I have to allow people to talk about the art and not feel weird that they're talking about me in a way. You know?
Okay, in that way, I don't feel a type of way, because it's just like, I love my art, and you can disagree with whatever you want. You could not like my body. I don't give a shit about that. I care about how is your soul integrating the concept of the art, and what is my responsibility in that role as the artist. I don't give a shit if people don't like my art or my body or me. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck.
There you go.
What would you, in an ideal world, what would you like people to take away from your art? What's
3
the
words.
vibe?
This boils down to all of my art. In fact, all of my existence are for 3 words, which are evolution, empowerment, and embodiment.
Yeah.
And if you walked away with even a smidge of any, let alone all of those 3 vibrations, effective.
Let's break them down a little bit. Let's go one by one.
What do you want to evolve?
Okay. So I refer to myself as a new earth artist. If you're immersed in spiritual communities, you'll hear people talk about new earth or 5D, 5th dimension, new paradigm, right? And it's this idea that our consciousness and our individual and social consciousness is evolving, and that we really can and we really are anchoring in what could be considered heaven on earth. Like we really have this capacity, especially through the integration of technology that we're creating right now. And so evolution on a micro level, in terms of like, everything in front of us is a mirror and a lesson. And I can constantly be coding this as my reflection of what I need to learn, and therefore I can learn it and integrate it and evolve. Or I can decide it's that person's problem. They did that to me. They're so fucked up. They need to do blah, blah, blah. Sure, there are degrees of that that are true and true and true and true. And it does not change the fact that your soul has called in this exact life story for you to change it if you don't like it. So evolve out of your own personal stories that keep you in karmic loops and vibrating in a life that you don't want to be in.
Sure.
So evolution is that, I would say that. Empowerment.
Who are we empowering? Who or what are we empowering?
Who are we? Every single person.
Hey.
Yeah, to see themselves as the creator of their own life.
Yeah.
To see themselves as, oh, that person has something I want, or like, I don't like this about my life. Great news for you. You can change it.
Right.
Great
You have the
news.
power to do something about it.
You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
do it. So to really see yourself. And then in a social paradigm, it's also very important to see yourself as empowered, because the current era of politics would have us believe that we are quite powerless, or that our power extends only as far as our arms or our communities. And that's just so not fucking true. And again, I'll go back to a spiritual or meditative framework of like, if we choose to vibrate the things that we want to vibrate, integrity, love, empowerment, whatever it is, like we radically alter our own body, which radically and inevitably alters the world around us. And it starts micro, but that impact is infinite. So empowerment and embodiment is living the idea that the divine is not somewhere out there. We are divine. We are the extension of what we call God, source, energy, whatever word you want to use around it. Like the semantics are not the important thing. What is important is understanding that we are the essence of life, and we are divine, and we are creators. And so living with the respect and the empowerment, that we deserve, and seeing ourselves as capable of creating the world for ourselves in a micro way and in a macro way that we want.
See, and that's what I'm talking about.
I know, snaps all around. That was very good.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, snaps.
I will
Give
snap
us a little
myself.
lecture there.
But see, again, that's what I'm talking about. Hearing you talk about it with such passion, right? It's like that's the message that you're putting forward, and it's coming through, whether it's music or visuals or photography, right? Poetry. And it's really cool that you're putting it out there in multiple different forms.
Thank you.
And if we can help amplify that in any way, we're glad to do it.
Yes, doing it right now. Thank you.
Happy to help. What are some tips you would give someone trying to move into the art space? Say there's some poor child in the middle of Idaho and they've never been to an art museum, but they come across your album and they're suddenly wildly inspired.
Yes.
What are you gonna tell them? How do they start?
Okay, fuck yeah. Great question. Wow. Okay, first of all, don't think that you need to find an art space to validate or give you anything or give you resources or be seen or whatever. Sure, if that comes into your field, great, take advantage of it. Create what you want. Create what you want. If you want to throw a show and you're having trouble getting booked, book your own show. There's a friend who has a house who would let you play music in it. If you want to have your own gallery show and there's a gallery who won't book you, great. You have a house, put your fucking art up on the walls. That's literally what I used to do when I was 18. I would have people over to my home and I would transform my home into a gallery.
Oh, wow.
Create what you want. Create what you want. And ask for what you want. Reach out to people. Okay, I will say this especially about the Web3 community, but also in general, in my experience as an artist, but especially about the Web3 community. Reach out and ask for advice, ask for resources, ask for connections, be direct, tell the world what you want and what you're offering. People want to help you. If you are offering something of value to this world, people want to help you. So I guess the other component of that is focus on what you're creating and focus on being of value to this world.
Yeah, I mean, you make it sound so easy.
Okay, but this is 6 or so years of me living on literal, like, I don't even know how I made it through these last 6 years. Like now, yes, I am like financially independent through my art and my mystic work, but this is 6 years of dog sitting and cleaning Airbnbs and doing whatever the fuck I had to
LA
do
life.
Right,
to
you gotta
ensure
do it,
that I could
right?
do it. Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
Everybody's got those side gigs, right? Everybody's got those things. There's no shame in it. You got to do what you
No
gotta do.
shame. Absolutely. Do what you got to do. But also, like, if you can be your own boss, like, don't go into a 9-to-5 or whatever, because that shit literally sucks your soul unless you like it. But if you don't, it's sucking your soul. So, like, try to be hustling on the side is my personal advice.
And you'll know pretty quickly if 9-to-5 is not for you.
Yeah.
You'll learn
Yeah,
pretty
you'll
quickly
know.
in your early teens or your late teens or early 20s if 9-to-5 is not your jam.
And this makes me ask, you are an entrepreneur as well.
Yes.
What draws you to entrepreneurship, business building, creating brands, etc.? How do you align those things and art? Because I'm sure there are some people in the world that are very, very opposed to art and business intersecting, and they're purists.
I don't even know those people.
No.
Fuck those people.
They sit in white rooms and they complain about everything.
They're
so.
the worst. Okay. two things about entrepreneurship for me. One, I referenced earlier, like, fuck politics. I'm too radical for politics. Business is political, where my, social justice shines through among my art, obviously. But my business, I will give you a very clear example. In February let me state, I already stated, I'm the CEO of artist management at Enchanted Loft Productions. We do micro festivals. In February, our team had the inspired idea to book exclusively Black artists and performers and make it completely an event, a festival about addressing the racism within our spiritual communities. Why is it that we go to a conscious event and we see 10 Black people there out of a sea of 100 and you don't want to talk about it?
Right.
What? No, come on now. Like, I hear that spiritual people want to believe in the already integrated world, that we are all, treated, to the extent of our own power. But the reality is that these structures around us are not there yet. And so for me, creating my business around let's amplify the voices that have been systematically repressed, which, by the way, are going to have the best art, because art is alchemy. Art is transforming pain, micro and macro, social and personal.
Yeah.
So what can we do to change the world? We can support the people changing it by paying them and giving them a spotlight. So one, social justice is my entrepreneurship. And two, it's my pleasure and divine honor to not only be an artist in this world, but to create containers where people understand themselves as an artist, because being an artist is the most freeing fucking thing in the world. I wish everyone saw themselves as an artist. It doesn't have to be like a role where you get paid or whatever. Like, everyone can be an artist. Everyone can create. And it is the most liberate, because then you get to literally see yourself as a creator. And ultimately, that's what this world is coming out of, is our own recognition of how much am I creating my life and how much am I letting other people dictate and create my life for me.
It gives you
And when
agency.
you are an artist, you recognize that you are creating every inch and moment of your life. And so creating containers where people get to experience and express their creativity is imperative in creating a new world where people are actually fucking happy and respected and living the lives that they want to live. So my business is around event production, around creating containers where people get to be inspired by and create fucking anything they want. Transformation is the goal of Enchanted Loft.
Okay.
It's cool, because that's I feel like that's one of the baseline, like, human emotions, right? Or the baseline, like, human desires, right? Is that we all feel at a certain point, I feel this. Does anybody else feel this with me? And you do that through art, right? You you write a song, or you paint a painting, or you take a photo that evokes a feeling. And if somebody else connects to it, it's like, we're simpatico.
Just
here.
refine the process of hey, you too?
Yeah.
You too? Yeah, exactly.
You too? Oh,
That alone is healing. That alone is healing, let alone like the transformation we can reach when we actually like talk about our feelings or sing about our feelings. It's just so powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really can be, right? And it can be something as complicated as a wildly, hugely, like a big sprawling visual album, or it could be as simple as just sharing a cocktail with somebody new, right?
That's right.
Which
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, our cocktails are starting to wind down here. But my final question is,
Final thoughts.
if you have not been paying attention, I don't know how you have in the best way possible. You have a dizzying career, and you've got all these exciting things kind of going forward. Where can people follow you? Where can they keep up with the dizzying nature of all the things that you're doing? Because it's cool and it's exciting.
Fuck yeah. The place that I would reference people is my website, ThesamSharman.com. For some weird reason, SamSharman.com was already taken. Who was out there? So
You gotta find this person and track them down.
.com, and you will find the most I daily post on Instagram. So you'll find the most posts there, the Sam Sharman art. But from my website, you'll find all my links to my Instagram, to my Linktree, to my website, everything. You'll find the link to my website on my website. Okay. ThesamSharman.com. You'll also find Rose Riot on there and all the other good stuff.
Nice. Very cool. Well, please go there and just follow her because it's like I said, it's dizzying in the best way possible.
Absolutely
mention
check out all of
one
Sam's work.
thing?
Yeah,
I have
absolutely.
for those who couldn't make it to the album release, I'm performing this upcoming Tuesday, a week from today, at Madame somewhere. Go to my website.
That's why those links
It's
are
in
important.
Hollywood, okay?
You're also going to make me edit this episode quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
So I see your plan.
But I'll also post it on my website, my Instagram, and everything. But I'll be performing the album there with a great group of people. So I will post the links for that very soon.
Yeah. And where can people find the link to the Loft if they want to follow that as well?
Yes. Also through my Instagram, through my website, it's The Enchanted Loft on Instagram. And right now, that's our only social media presence is through Instagram. So The Enchanted Loft.
Yeah, it sounds pretty cool. If you're an artist or an aspiring artist or a recovering artist.
Or just anyone who wants to fucking party. We also just party.
Yeah.
We like have great fucking music and
Hang
great
out with
art and good
wonderful,
food and
enlightened,
sexy
creative
people.
people.
Come party.
It sounds like a win-win-win for all involved. But
Yes.
go down to the Enchanted Loft. It sounds really fun.
Yes.
Well, Sam, thank you so much for swinging by to chat with us today. We hope that it was fun, and we hope that we certainly enjoyed it, and we're excited
Wonderful
to
time.
follow you. If we can have you back on the show at some point, we'd love to do it. The next time, either you release a new record or Web 4.0 gets invented. Whatever comes first.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay,
You
thank
figure
you
out how
both
to
so
turn
much.
myself and Shane into an NFT. We're working on that.
Oh, no problem.
We're trying to
We're
figure
gonna
it out.
do Shane and Chase like VR versions. Where we're
I
just-
love it.
You can sit at the table with us.
That's adorable. I love it. Yes, please.
So be sure and check out Sam's work. Check out Rose Riot, available wherever you stream your music, or you're going to get the VisuAlbum on her website, I believe.
Yes,
directly.
all music is streaming. The VisuAlbum is exclusive to ThesamSharman.com.
Thank you for tuning in today. Be sure and follow us on Instagram and wherever you get your podcasts. It's at 2drinkmaximum.
Can he do it, listeners? Can he do it? Let's see if he can do it.
Fuck me up right out of the gate. At 2drinkmaximum, TWODRINKMAXIMUM.
There we go.
Nice.
Bro, now.
It's going to be burned into my brain. Also, a huge thank you to our sponsors, The Muserooms. You can check them out at The Muserooms. That's MUSE.com.
All of your creative co-working space needs.
Yes.
Check them out.
It's a wonderful space. It's a great place to record, and we're very, very grateful. And we're very grateful that Sam joined us this evening.
My pleasure. Thank
Catch
you guys both so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. This was great. We will catch you guys on the next episode.
Cheers.
Cheers.